As soon as Jeff gets back, we'll call the meeting to order. There it comes. Okay. I'll call this regular meeting of the Stratford Town Council, regular monthly meeting to order, and acknowledge the land upon which we gather as the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and we pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. Is there anyone around the table who has a conflict of interest with any of the items we're going to be covering here tonight? If not, we'll move on to the agenda. The agenda is before you. Any additions, deletions, changes that people would like to see in the agenda? If not, I'll ask for a motion for approval of the agenda. Thank you, Councillor. Second, Councillor Chandler, thank you. Okay, the minutes of the regular monthly meeting of Council of 12th of February 2025 is in your package. Any additions, deletions, or changes anyone would like to see to those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of those minutes. Thank you. Yep. Second? Yep. Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Those against? Motion carried. Okay, and the public meeting minutes of March 5th, 2025. That meeting was to discuss the street vendor bylaw, and I think there were some text amendments or something there as well, or is that the next one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and I think we could probably deal with all three in one motion, but there were three items on the agenda.
Oh, yeah, that's the same night, yeah. Public meeting, verbatim, special permit use, 6-stacked, semi-detached, and then some text changes. Okay. Yeah, so any changes, anyone, or I guess it's verbatim minutes. Is everything okay with those verbatim minutes? Is captured it correctly?
I've reviewed them, and I do believe that they are in order, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Just got a motion to approve those minutes?
And I'll move to approve those.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Hey, Councillor Cox, welcome. How you doing? We just barely got started. We just did the land acknowledgement and the declaration of conflict of interest. You don't have any conflicts with any of the items we're going to be covering here tonight? We approved the agenda, and we just now approved the public meeting minutes of March 5th, 2025. Okay, any business arising from those minutes that anyone would like to raise at this time? Are there any presentations from the floor, Jeremy? No? My report's in your package, just a couple of highlights. We seem to have it awfully small here for some reason. Let me see if I can make that bigger. There we go. Yeah, just a couple of highlights. There's, I guess there were 5 public sessions, basically with the consultants presenting what they found or what they heard from stakeholders and residents to this point about changes to making our new official plan and bringing it up to date. There was each one had a different theme. There was one on, I'm not going to go through them all, but there are things like housing, changing commercial zones to mixed use, transportation, environment, agriculture, transportation. There were all aspects, everything that's covered in the public plan or the official plan was looked at, and people's input was presented, and there were conversations where the public and members of the planning team and Deputy Mayor and myself and members of council who participated were involved in the discussions about what the new official plan should look like. Very important sessions, very important. You got a lot done. There was a lot of good information exchanged, and I hope it contributes to our new official plan being as reflective of residents' concerns and council's priorities as possible. There were also 4 Federation of the Canadian Municipalities virtual committee meetings. I'm vice chair of the Finance, Infrastructure, and Transportation Committee, and we had a virtual meeting of that committee, and as well as the Atlantic Caucus, the Environment Committee. I'm a member of that committee, and the Board of Directors meeting. So those 4 meetings talked about things like election readiness, preparing for, and a lot of the discussion centered around Canada-U.S. Relations and how municipalities are dealing with the new tariff regime that's being put in place and the impacts. So every municipality was asked to let the Federation know what impacts there were on their municipality and what the potential repercussions are. Yeah, the food vendor bylaw public meeting and special permit use application public meeting was a good meeting. There was a lot of good discussion there, I think, and I think that was there was a lot of good input received on that. Yeah, the public presentation of the proposed town utility budgets was presented, and I want to compliment our finance director, and the chair of the Finance Committee, Finance and Technology Committee, Councillor Jody Jackson, for a great job on the presentation. It was unfortunate that the sound wasn't captured. It was just part of some of the equipment we had didn't work properly, and it's because it's getting older, and I guess at this point it needs to be replaced. So we need to look at that. But the budget itself was well presented, and wasn't well attended by the public. There was one member of the public there, but at least that member of the public gave us some good feedback, and asked a couple of good questions. Yeah, the 50th anniversary of the Stratford Lions Club. I think that's a very important milestone for the Lions Club, who do so much good work in our town. I was very honored to ask to provide a few remarks, and I just reflected the gratitude of all residents of Stratford for the good work and great contributions that the Stratford Lions Club makes to the quality of life in our community, and a number of the causes that they started to, the MC listed off. It's just amazing. I don't think people really know the depth and the breadth of their contributions and how they help people in really difficult situations, sort of under the radar that people don't know about. So we really are appreciative of having all the work that they do in the Stratford Lions Club. Yeah, we had a couple of budget meetings to work on the budget prior to the public presentation. I think council is pretty united in our approach to what our priorities are, and to try to reflect those in our town budget for 2025, 2026. Yeah, those are the highlights. The one thing I do want to mention is the youth who walk 24 hours as part of the Youth Center Walkathon. They also do a lot of good work in our community, help a lot of families. Christmas time, they collect money and put baskets together for people who are less fortunate. And they actually had 4 teams who walked. I believe it was 6 hours each, or 6 teams that walked 4 hours each, I guess. I think that when I went to see them, and I was just really impressed with their commitment and their resilience and their being able to stay up for that period of time. But again, they do a lot of good work with that money.
Do you Worship, you know the amount that they raised? I know last year was around 5,000.
The last time I checked, I think there was still a lot more to come in. I think it was, they were looking for 6,000, and I think they raised 66 or 69.
I was at 69 in their last, in the Facebook.
Yeah, the
post,
last
but there may
Facebook
have been more to come in.
post I saw was 69 as well. $6,900. That's a
Yeah.
lot of money, and
That's
it goes,
fantastic, yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
it goes towards the youth center operations and towards all the good work they do in our community. So,
Yeah.
so I think it's really a very worthwhile. We're very grateful to the youth and to Dwayne Pino, who does so much good work, and Jeremy Pierce, who do so much good work with our community. And I know Corporal Painter, the RCMP's been involved with the youth club as well. They've visited and done presentations and that, so it's really appreciative of that as well. Last thing I have to mention is I think it's a very well-deserved honor was presented to one of our counselors. Counselor Jill Burridge received the King Charles Coronation Medal, and I think it's something, the recognition that she gets for all the work she does in the community and in the island as a whole. I think it's really well-deserved, so congratulations, Counselor.
Congratulations,
Counselor
Councilor
Chandler,
Burridge.
Counselor
Yep.
Jill Chandler, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about two things. Jill Chandler.
I think we're next.
I'm sorry about that, Jill. Jill Chandler. Yeah, that's a great honor, and it's something that I think really is really something that just is the tip of the iceberg in terms of the recognition that you deserve. So thank you for everything you do. Yeah, that's my report. Any questions or comments on my report? If not, next item is the Chief Administrative Officer report. I'll ask Jeremy to give his report.
Thank you, Worship. My report is in your package. We'll go over a few of the highlights. Along with the Mayor and Deputy CAO, we met with MLAs Burridge and Redmond to discuss town projects and initiatives. A lot of good discussion there, and we will be setting up another meeting with those folks here very soon because there are a few things that we need to discuss with them. Attended a roundtable discussion put on by the Charlottetown Area Chamber of Commerce. It was with the Honorable Nate Urson-Smith, MP, Minister of Housing and Infrastructure and Communities, to discuss housing and infrastructure initiatives in PEI. I was able to talk about the Shape Stratford and Housing Accelerator Fund and how we've been successful here in Stratford to utilize both of those projects. Attended a meeting with the Deputy CAO and the Director of Operations and Engagements with the Federal Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities to discuss funding for the community campus. We've had several discussions with federal representatives regarding funding for the campus, and we're still hopeful that that's still going to come. And along with the Mayor and Deputy CAO, attended a presentation put on by Wild Child PEI on their programs and initiatives and how they connect with children and families in nature down at Cotton Park. So great program there. As the Mayor indicated, there were several official plan public consultations, but I attended the one on mainly on housing and also on the economy, and there's a couple more that I wasn't able to get to, but here they were well attended by residents. And finally, along with the Director of Finance and Director of Infrastructure, we met with Coles Associates to review the building condition survey for the Stratford Seniors Complex. And that's to discuss recommendations and repairs, capital and operational for the next several years, up to 10 years. So good report there, and I think our staff are ready to tackle that. Any questions on my report? Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Jeremy. Okay, we'll now move to Safety Services. I'll ask Councillor Ron Dowling, who chairs that committee, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Safety Services Committee did not meet this past month, so no report per se. There are several reports from the RCMP that are attached to our package. Just touching on a couple of highlights, 16 motor vehicle collisions with 6 reportable damage, 203 traffic-related offenses, and a series of Mental Health Act and Criminal Code matters as well. Don't know if anyone has any questions in relation to the reports specifically. And I guess we have Corporal Painter with us this evening, replacing Corporal Weatherby. And welcome, Corporal Painter. If you want to say a few words.
Welcome.
Great, thanks for having me here. So I am Matthew Painter is my name. So as most of you, or if not all of you know now, I'm the new Corporal and Stratford officer trying to take over for Dave Weatherby, who I've worked with for many years in Alberta and PEI here. So I know the shoes I'm trying to fill here. So so this is my second week in the job here in Stratford. I'm just kind of getting to know everybody in the detachment over here. I transferred over from Maypoint. So just going to touch on a few highlights, I guess, for the month of February. So during the month of February, we had 325 occurrences in Stratford. 308 of those were founded or still under investigation. Those numbers are slightly under January's 331 occurrences. As mentioned, there was 203 traffic offenses. 3 of those were impaired driving, 1 alcohol, 2 of which were a combination of alcohol and drug. We did 3 check stops, which we would like to bump those numbers up here, I think, going forward, now that the weather's getting nicer too. And then conducted 29 step files in various areas around the town. So you'll often see us out in the school zones is where we like to do those. 52 summary offense tickets were issued, 111 warnings and 2 defects, which is just telling people they have to get their stuff in order here to meet the laws. So the majority of assaults and warnings were related to speeding, as they typically are. And then the next highest numbers would have been expired registration and expired inspection, which is quite common for the first few months of the year when people forget to turn it over. So fraud files, they had 5 fraud files. That's there's a lot of people falling victim to frauds, not just in Stratford here, but everywhere. So we'll be working with our media relations crew to just try to keep the word out. People are getting scammed online and sending e-transfers and whatnot, and that's a really big issue. The majority of people seem to be seniors too, so they just just got to keep working on spreading the word there. So our public servant at the Stratford office, he remains pretty busy. He had 61 index checks in the month of February. As mentioned again, 16 collisions, 5 of those were on the Hillsborough Bridge. And just to finish up here, so Constable Loren Sanders, Constable Anthony McDonald, and myself attended the Stratford Elementary School this week, and we were the judges for the school science fair. So that was interesting, and we were teamed up with scientists, and I'm glad we were. It helped us out a lot. So, but a lot of really hard work, really cool projects the kids put into there. So, and then Constable Anthony McDonald and we also attended the Montessori over in Stratford. To meet the children there, we did a small presentation just about police officers, what we do. Gave them an opportunity to ask some questions and sit in the police car. They thought that was pretty neat. So, yeah. So, like I said, I'm new here and I'm open to whatever the town is looking for on top of our regular duties. So, if I think everyone probably received an email from me there, just passing my contact information along. If you have any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out by phone or email there. And if you guys are looking for us to do anything in particular, traffic-wise, youth-wise, pass it along, and we'll make sure that we do our best. So we want to be involved in the community and the youth, and just continue to work along and get some results.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions or comments for Corporal
I just
Painter?
have one. Welcome to town of Stratford, Corporal.
Thank you.
Just to pass on, like I talk about the youth and so on there, it's great getting involved in the community. Seniors too, you know, talking
Yes.
seniors fraud, and especially with what's
Yeah.
going on now and something down that road. And just, where'd you were stationed at? Where'd you come?
So this is my 16th year. I started in Fort McMurray, Alberta.
Okay,
Did 6.5 years out there. From there, I transferred to Grand Manan Island, New Brunswick, just a small little island on the U.S. border there of 3,000 people. And then transferred to PEI here, which is home for me and my family, I guess. So I started in Surrey.
Yep.
And then transferred into Charlottetown, May Point last
Okay.
February.
I just have one question on that, and you're probably experienced with this. The drive-offs, the grass drive-offs, and other jurisdictions where you worked, probably you pay at the pump, right?
That's right.
I mean, it's so frustrating, and every year, like, we had 20 calls a month from the RCMP in Stratford of gas drive-off, and most of that stuff, it's not thefts, it's a civil matter, like,
That's
you know
right.
yourself. All you got at the RCMP is doing work for the SOs, the Shells, and so on, taking the time away from being somewhere else. And then I like to see it being legislated, but at PC, they're talking about photo radar. I like to see this legislation come first all across the island. I know Albert and up West Prince, some of the owners did it on themselves, right? But I mean, if we can sort of pass the torch and like, it's frustrating that you're going to a call and it's just forgetful. Some people forget to pay, and
That's right.
and then you know yourself, you got to prove intent, and everything else in the videos and everything else. There's a lot of work behind it, and all of a sudden, there's nothing to it, right? So it takes a lot of time. But I like to see it legislated. I just, you know, I know I've seen in like just 20 or 30 calls per month here at town of Stratford.
Yep.
So
Yeah, you're completely right, and it is frustrating and time consuming in a way, but
yeah,
I guess the way we see it is,
yeah,
it's a call, and we have to report to it, right? So, you're right, the majority of them are just people forgetting to pay, or they tap their card thinking it worked and it didn't
Yeah.
work. So I have actually talked to several owners of the gas stations and managers of the gas stations. So they said the chip, like where you have to swipe your card,
Yes,
can
yeah.
cost up to like $10,000.
Okay.
Which is a lot of money for that little piece. So I guess that's a lot of money for, you know, if you have to install 8 or 10 or 12 of them, whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, in Alberta, it was pay at the pump where
That's
I
right.
was at.
Yeah, pay at the pump,
I never
yeah.
had any issues.
yeah,
But it's becoming more and more often, and you go in, you lift up the pump, you start pumping, it's only stopping the honest people, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, they'll remove their license plates,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
since COVID, a mask is a real thing, they'll cover their face so you can't see who they are. So it is frustrating,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm sure it's frustrating for the gas stations as well, but if we have 5 drive-offs a day, 4 of them are accidental.
right, that's right, yeah. So I was just trying to keep you guys on the road, right, and just to be in the community more,
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we're more beneficial on the road than we are
Yeah.
making phone calls to say you forgot to pay for your gas, for sure.
That's right.
But yeah, we'll continue to preach it and
Yep.
in hopes that they'll do something. And they all have surveillance cameras, but again, it's not everyone's identifiable. That's the issue.
Just for clarity, are you saying that they need that special chip thing in order to operate pay at the pump?
Yeah, so from what I believe, from what I was told by the owner of the gas station in Surrey, was that each like pin pad essentially is like up to $10,000. So in order to pay at the pump, you would need that little contraption, the chip, whatever it might be, and it'd be quite pricey, like say if you have to put that many in, but.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they must get frustrated having to call us, but, you know, several times a day that that somebody forgot to pay or didn't pay too, so.
I just wanted to say, to follow up on your comments. We love seeing the RCMP involved in the community and any efforts to build and maintain relationships with the youth. I think it really adds a lot for them and just the safety and your presence. And in the seniors regard, I think I had asked Corporal Weatherby, I've noticed in other communities that there are different seminars being offered for seniors in regards to fraud, and I wondered if ever that could be something we consider down the road.
Yeah, I think.
Because I think a lot of, we just, like, we're losing, like, more and more people are falling victim to it, and it's not just seniors. I think that we all think that we're wiser than we are when it comes to that stuff, but it could be helpful, and I think it would be a nice way to engage seniors.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's something that we'll try to line up with our media and our fraud specialists as well. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Thanks.
I just have a quick question. Welcome, Corporal Painter.
Thank
I'm guessing you're related to the painters in Carleton Siding?
That's right, yeah.
My dad was the head of the RCMP in Carleton Siding
Okay.
in the 70s, yeah.
Small world.
Yeah, so I probably know all your uncles and great uncles probably now. Question for you. First of all, are you getting a lot of calls about people breaking into cars or coming into yards and snooping around places? Are you getting a little bit more of those kind of calls?
Over the last few months that I've reviewed before coming here, it has gone down, and that's typical for
Well,
the
that's good.
winter too.
Yeah.
Like suspicious person complaint or break-and-enters. I don't have the stats right on me. I think there was 3 break-and-enters. One resulted in charges, and they were known to each other, so it wasn't a random attack or a random break-and-enter. So it's probably going to happen again, like, you know, more people out and about as the weather gets nicer too.
Right.
And I mean, very similar to the frauds. I mean, it wouldn't hurt us to stay on top of
Yeah.
the social media of lock your doors, make sure your vehicles are locked, don't keep valuables in the open, right? So,
Right,
yeah.
that's important. Second question, the speeding 29 kilometers or less, I noticed there's 48 people charged. Like that must be concerning, a number. That's quite a speed over the speed limit.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the majority of the speed limits in Stratford are, you know, you shouldn't be going 30 kilometers over that, right? So, I think we had one out front, out on the main drag here yesterday going 133. So, like, you know, people aren't getting it, and I guess it's, you know, it's up to us to make sure we keep on top of
Right.
it. So, yeah, it is concerning though, no matter where you are in town.
Yeah. No, well, thank you for all your hard work and welcome again.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Corporal Painter. I know your resources are stretched from pillar to post. Everybody wants a little bit of something, but I think overall this council and our residents agree that the RCMP do a fantastic job of policing within our community. And just a comment, not a question, but I noticed that there was 2 reports of sextortion in your report. And it's good to see that those reports are coming in. It's a particularly heinous crime and very impactful on the victims, particularly the younger, more vulnerable. And it's often the case where people are too embarrassed to file a report, and sometimes that embarrassment literally kills.
You're right.
So I'm glad to see that people are feeling, some people at least, and hopefully more as time goes on, more comfortable in reporting that and having them dealt with and having the offenders held accountable. Yep.
Yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand with the fraud, right? Like, you get caught up in the social media, and and people try to take advantage of you, and when you're vulnerable.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Corporal Painter?
If I may, thank you, Councillor Dowling and Corporal Painter. Just seeing second major drug seizure, this one through City Police yesterday, I guess, but alarming, just the sheer volume of fentanyl that's coming into the province, and a kilogram, I think, was this last one. I know it's not something that we're seeing or that folks can kind of report in, like, but you know, as we've talked about, I think Deputy Mayor, we've been pushing e-watch cameras to help us with investigations and situational awareness, and I know Corporal Weatherby was really big on this. Is that something, you know, a further investment in that, is that something that would help not only yourselves, but working with city police on trying to get to the root of some of these? I think, and I think it goes back to the other questions around the gas and dash stuff. I think until we build enough capacity in the town with our e-watch cameras, I think we still have some vulnerable spots. I know the service stations do have their own cameras, but I think, you know, if we could help deter some of that activity, I think it would be a wise investment for us. So hoping we can, as a council, you know, continue to think about that investment in the e-watch. But just really your thoughts and if you had experience using these for investigations, and just really just your thoughts on the usefulness of those.
Yeah, I actually spoke to the mayor about this prior to starting here. So I mean, anytime we can work hand in hand with anybody, it'd be super beneficial. Unfortunately, that's a little on top of my pay grade, but I think it would be fantastic. And same as surveillance. Nowadays, a lot of people have surveillance cameras on their house or their door, you know, their doorstep, and they're very willing to share it with us. And since we got our new body cameras, we actually have a new program where, you know, if something happened at your house and you caught it on camera, we can just send you a text and you can upload it and it'll send it right to us, which is made things way easier than trying to go there with a camera or a phone and trying to record what you already had recorded. So for sure, I mean, it's some people are willing to come forward with that information or to help, and some aren't. But I mean, the more eyes we have out there would be more beneficial to the whole community, right? Yeah.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Okay. Thank you, Corporal Painter. And any other questions, Your Worship?
Yeah, I just want to just quickly express my gratitude for the work you did with the youth at Stratford Elementary and Montessori School. I think that's time well spent, and I think, you know, as has already been mentioned around the table, I think anything you can do with regard to seniors would be appreciated as well, specifically around fraud awareness and that sort of thing. I think that's time that's well spent as well. But there's another group, I guess, the newcomers, which are always very hard to reach, I know, but I'm not sure what the answer is. But if anybody knows of any ways of reaching newcomers and getting them aware of, you know, scams that target them and coercion. I guess some get coercion from their home countries and that sort of thing. And I know that's not really a detachment level thing, but it's a national security thing. But at the same time, it does happen in all communities. So those are the sorts of things that we really appreciate. Anything you can do and your force can do to address those would be great. And I really want to welcome you, and I think you're going to be great. And thank you very much for coming here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and work alongside with all of you, and to touch your point there, we actually do have a contact through the Newcomers Association, so that's something that we can reach out to as well. And
that's
just,
great.
You know,
that's
just make sure that they know that line of communication's open.
Yeah, that's
Something we can do through the council and the RCMP and the newcomers and meet, and you know, probably some of the newcomers are not friendly to police, right? With the different countries they come from.
That's right. Yeah.
So it'd be nice to be able to set that up.
Well, we have a couple of events, at least one event every year where we have newcomers, an event for newcomers. So we could invite the RCMP to that as well. And you know, if you're available or you know, a member is available to come to that, I think that'd be great to have that opportunity for interaction. It's usually well attended. You usually get a pretty good turnout for it.
Yeah, no, we can always make someone available.
We always have food too. So.
And many of our town events, our regularly occurring events, are well attended by new residents.
That's right. You're right. Yeah.
So even if there was, time stop by Fall Fest or different things. We have a lot of newcomers that attend the regular events at the town.
But I guess as part of that, they have to know about when these events are taking place too, so yeah, yeah.
I was talking to Wendy before and telling her I follow her social media there, the town of Stratford, so she's been busy, so I keep an eye on that, so, but if there's any events coming up that, somebody wants to shoot us an email, that'd be great too.
Perfect. Anyway, thanks very much.
for
Appreciate it.
having me.
Appreciate everything you do, keeping us safe. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, Corporal Painter. The next item, Your Worship, fire company report is attached to the package as well. I did meet with the fire company board recently. Things are going well with the company. I think we are very fortunate as a community to have such a dedicated and very well-trained membership within our fire department. And the biggest item for the company, of course, is the ladder truck. It's not an absolute immediate issue, but it is a somewhat pressing issue. A bit of a fly in the ointment is these tariff issues. All of the trucks are built in the States, so companies that are across the country that are now purchasing trucks are in some cases facing higher cost or anticipating higher costs. But the company still continues to work with the provincial and federal governments trying to find additional funding. Very expensive pieces of equipment. They last considerable number of years. So that's something we'll keep an eye on, and I know, they would appreciate and do appreciate this council and this community's support for not only what they do, but also for their equipment needs in order to do what they do efficiently and safely.
Yeah,
So,
Ron, Councillor Dowling, yeah, it's very important right now because of, we have to get some information from the province or ourselves or federal government, like I say, to municipal or federal or provincial, but at the same time, the 2 units over there are being built, 60 units, 120 units, so we should have a ladder truck in before that. So, you know, we got to work on it. I don't know when the building over there is finished or not, when the time frame, but.
Yeah, I guess the ladder truck we have is good for 1.5 years, they say. But,
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
yeah, but I understand that this was raised at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities virtual meeting that I was on with regard to it's a 2-year waiting list. Even if you want to get a new fire truck, a new ladder truck built, it's 2-year waiting list. So, and a 25% tariff on it, which will really make it a lot more than $3.5 million or whatever they are. So they're looking at sourcing them maybe in Europe or Asia. They're really looking at all over to see if there's possibility of sourcing them from somewhere other than the United States.
That's good.
Yeah.
because the need, like I said, is not an immediate need, and it can actually extend beyond 1.5 years if required. It comes down to certain certifications, but there are trucks that are much older than that are continuing service, and they're prepared to do that if necessary. But the need is in relation to getting the funds in order to purchase a truck, but we also have to project for our anticipated growth, particularly in relation to the Grey Group development. And when those, as Councillor Gallant had mentioned, as we continue to have larger and larger multi-story buildings, then that becomes all the more immediate concern. Any other questions in relation to the fire company report?
Just a comment on that, and I know it's just with the situation with the U.S. and the tariffs and the availability of trucks and just the regular delay of a couple of years in getting them, like forget what it's going to be like now, but I'm just wondering, have any of the fire companies in PEI, and this more of it's not really, it's more of a statement, I guess, Councillor Dowling, have they talked to the insurance companies about this? Because the ladder trucks don't just, go to dust when that time comes. They are still useful. It is harder, I know, to get parts and to service them, but like I guess they become antique at that point, but insurance companies don't usually bargain very much, but it would be something just to for folks to think about as they're aging out with some of these, that, you know, we want to maintain a certain level of age of those to maintain our top insurance rating, but, you know, if push comes to shove with availability, I think there should be some conversations with the insurance folks to see what can be done around maybe extending out periods. It's going to be really hard. So there's access to the U.S. market, but there's also new emissions standards that they have coming, and that's only going to add cost to that. So I appreciate that the folks are speaking to the province, and it was brought up, Your Worship. That's great to hear around the FCMs. Just leave no stone unturned here, because it's going to be a tough thing. And as everyone said, you know, we're building higher and we need that. But it'd be nice if we can just see how long we can extend out that current one if possible.
And my understanding is it can go, you know, absolutely beyond the 1.5 years in accordance to its certification. But a lot of companies across the country, across the world, buy used. Our chief diligently checks every day for what's available across the country from the States and within other companies in Canada. And, you know, they're not beyond looking at a used one. Ideally, a new one would be perfection, but given the current climate with tariffs and such, a used one may be more applicable. But companies do buy used vehicles even to the point where they're considered antique when they buy them, and they're just going without that insurance certificate. And I'm not sure, I was told, but I can't remember now specifically what the impact, any negative impact that would have in relation to the operation or the operators. But I'll follow that up. But any other questions?
Somewhat of a blended question and a comment, I guess, Councillor. So just somewhat in the vein of Councillor Glantz, or Deputy Mayor Glantz, question with respect to the alleged gas thefts that transpire in our community, and somewhat of the frustrating nature as it relates to those. I'm struck again, I guess, by when you review the nature of the calls for service, and a number of those were false alarms. I know we've had those discussions on a budgetary process about looking at the imposition of some monetary penalty for repeat offenders or anything like that. Is there any way, and here comes the question, is there any way, and maybe it's too hard for our statistics, is there any way to delineate in our statistics if there's repeat calls for service to the same locations? Is that possible?
I think His Worship wants to comment on that.
Yeah, that's an issue that we've been dealing with since I've been on council in 2010, when I first come on council. And the answer is, you know, to put a monetary penalty on it. But the downside of that is there's a disincentive then to report fires or things, suspicious situations that can endanger people's lives. So the fire company is not really in favor of that monetary penalty. But you know, if someone can come up with a solution, if there's any solutions out there in other fire companies or whatever, I think it would be something that should be looked at. But it's not an easy, it seems like an easy solution, but it really isn't, because if someone doesn't report a fire because they're worried about being fined $5,000 or something, and something, you know, people could die or whatever. So it is a bit of a difficult question.
I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate that it's not the situation the fire company wants to put itself in. Is their mandate obviously is to preserve life, preserve property, and they do a very good job of that. Our job here at council, of course, is to responsibly manage the affairs of the town, to make sure that these services are funded in a responsible fashion. And as we've noted with respect to even the capital requirements on our fire trucks and things of that nature, and the very well understood requests year over year from the fire company to increase their budget, which it's the cost of doing business, frankly, and we have a responsibility to ensure that, you know, their job, their time is best spent responding to calls where there's an actual requirement for their services, and not potentially frivolous calls. And now things happen, accidents happen. I just think it's something that, I know what the fire company's position is. I'm just wondering here as a council if it's something, and I know we've had some discussions about it, if it's not something we want to look at a little further. And again, I appreciate the public policies about whether or not we want to encourage or discourage certain types of behaviors, and we always want to encourage the reporting of anything that could be a serious issue with respect to a fire. But I am very mindful of the increased costs that our citizens are being requested to bear by the fire company. Very well understood, and not to say they're not worthy of merit, but at the same time, we have a responsibility to make sure that we deliver those services in a cost-effective fashion.
Okay, maybe if I could, maybe we'll ask that be referred to the Safety Services Committee and discussed with the fire company present and the other members of the public present, so that,
Sure.
And make a recommendation to council on it.
Yeah.
And you'd be welcome to come and make a presentation if you like, I think.
Yeah, we can do that, Your Worship. And I know the fire company, just from the few board meetings I've attended so far, they're always looking for ways to reduce the incidence of calls, particularly unfounded calls, and working to better communicate with other departments that are calling upon our company to provide an assist, to have them stand down at the earliest opportunity rather than arrive at the scene somewhere miles away and then find that they're not needed. So it is something they're cognizant of, and they're always trying to pare down the expenses as much as they can. They don't want call-outs any more than they have to go to. And, to Councillor McDonald's point, I think it's something that we can explore at the committee level at perhaps the next meeting. And, we'll put that on the agenda.
It's like, as Councillor McDonald said, Councillor Dowling, it's a great question. There's more responsibilities for our fire department now in 2025 than there was in 2000, right? The stuff they do, or short paramedics, they do all the paramedics, assist, the CPR, and so on. They're lifting, they're going assisting paramedics and doing lifts. They're doing, they're always out there. They're directing traffic with the RCMP here, they're doing those stuff, and they're going, and they're seeing stuff now, and with PTSD on the rise and everything else, and some of the stuff they see, we got to be 100% behind them and support them all the way, and because they do a great job, and they're volunteers, and they get the phone rings at 2 or 3 in the morning, snowy night, and minus 40 below, and they don't want to, they got put their suits on and go. So it's something that we just can't, like as Councillor McDonald was saying, we just got to push, because the costs go up. We absorb all the costs, and we have to have some help from the provincial government and our federal government to absorb some of these costs.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions on fire company report?
Okay, Humane Society reports attached, Your Worship. Nothing outstanding. 21 patrols and 2 new cases, 1 closed case.
No transit report this month?
No.
Beg your pardon? Oh, it's sustainability, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Takes me a while to catch up, sorry about
So
that.
unless there's any questions, Your Worship, that will complete my report for this month.
Okay, thank you for your
What do we
report,
move on?
appreciate it. Okay, we now move to recreation, culture, and events, and I'll ask Councillor Cox to give his report. He chairs that committee.
Thank you, Mayor. The following is an overview of projects and items that have worked on or completed within the Recreation, Culture, and Events Department. First of all, the Recreation, Culture, and Events Committee, this is the first one that I chaired. We had a meeting on Thursday, February 27th at the Emergency Services Center. The agenda included program updates across recreation, arts, and culture, and updates on the youth center, along with progress on the Stratford Community Campus project. The committee also reviewed the department's operational and capital budgets and received an informative presentation for the Wild Child program. It was an action-packed meeting for sure. Stratford Youth Center and Council. February was an exciting month at the Stratford Youth Center, filled with community engagement and fundraising efforts. One of the highlights for the Youth Center was their participation in the Bowl for Kids' Sake, where 18 very enthusiastic youth from Stratford came together to support a great cause. Through their fundraising efforts, Youth Center once again showed their true colors, and by proudly donating $1,000 to the event, which showcased their commitment to giving back to the community and supporting local youth initiatives. In addition to this, Youth Center is actively involved in Stratford Winterfest, which took place over 2 weekends at the Stratford Town Center. The festival included a variety of children-oriented events, including the annual fun fair with inflatables, face painting, balloon twisting, as well as a family skate. The second weekend, the Winterfest also served as a fundraiser for the Youth Center with a 2-day flea market that helped support upcoming programs and initiatives. Looking ahead, March is shaping up to be right on par with February. It's going to be a busy month. The walkathon, which was recently held here at the Town Center on the 7th, 8th of March, brought together the youth from our youth center and some committee members, as well as some councillors who helped out. I must say a big shout out to Councillor Dowling, who's walking out on me here, but I'm going to say it anyway. Yeah, Councillor Dowling went and supplied snacks and food and all kinds of things for the youth. So he doesn't want to be embarrassed by sitting there, so he's making out he's busy back there. So, but anyhow, thank you, Councillor Dowling, for doing that with the youth center, supplying them with food and drinks, etc. So thank you very much. You're here. There you go. The Stratford Town Center Gymnasium remains a hub of activity with programming running from morning to evening, a wide range of sports and recreational events including tennis, pickleball, badminton, basketball, and the after-school program. Make use of the gym daily. Additionally, the fitness area and walking track see an average of 127 users per day, highlighting the gym's popularity among residents of all ages. Looking ahead, work has begun on the summer-spring program schedule with full details set to be announced in March. In the meantime, a variety of programs remain available, catering to diverse interests and age groups. Current offerings include active aging fitness, 55 and over, gardening workshops, Irish felt fairy, tropical plant workshop, the art of henna, co-ed basketball, co-ed volleyball, and multiple sessions of pickleball, tennis, and badminton. With such a wide range of events, the Stratford Town Center continues to provide enriching, inclusive programming for all of the community here in Stratford. Under Arts and Culture, the Poppy Project received an overwhelming response from the community with a goal of 4,000 crocheted poppies. The project is progressing ahead of schedule and is expected to reach its target much sooner than anticipated. I know when it comes to this project, there's a couple of people, a couple ladies in Stratford who have already bypassed over 100 themselves each that they're contributing. So it's really nice to see that. Meanwhile, artists, and I hope I say this right, but is it Lala and Absent are working on concept rendering for upcoming mural art projects in Cotton Park, Pondside Park, and Waterfront Park. Painting is set to take place through July and August, bringing vibrant new artwork to these public spaces. And I want to give a big shout out there to Melanie Weatherby, who also did a lot of work finding out what artists best suit us here in Stratford, and I think she picked a really good duo there to do our artwork. So, under recreation, winter activities and spaces, the Bunbury and Pondside rinks have an exceptional winter season, benefiting from a stretch of ideal weather conditions that allowed for weeks of uninterrupted outdoor recreation. Throughout the season, these rinks were well utilized by the community for hockey, ringette, recreational skating, etc., providing residents with a fun and active way to embrace the winter months. Thanks to all Stratford Town staff who kept those rinks going, and look forward next year having another great season with our outdoor rinks here in Stratford. Similarly, the town's trail network experienced a high activity winter season as consistent weather patterns made for excellent walking, hiking, snowshoeing, and also gave us snow-friendly conditions. Many residents took advantage of the maintained trails, using them for walking, jogging, outdoor exploration. As winter winds down, participation is already underway to ready the trails for a busy season this summer. And the last note here is, I don't know if you noticed this on social media, but the pickleball group who are are looking to open their facility here in Stratford, in our community campus, later in 2025. Have been putting out different posts on social media. One of the posts had a architect's drawing of what the pickleball facility is going to look like, and I thought that was great. Another post that they put out identified the stakeholders in their company, et cetera. So they're really trying to keep people informed about what is coming here in Stratford. So it's really nice to see that on different social media platforms. So thank you to that group, and thanks to all the people that are interested in our community campus and who will be joining the pickleball group also to set up their facilities. And that's my report.
Thank you, Councillor. Any comments or questions on Councillor Cox's report?
With the pickleball there, Councillor Cox, so I know the 6 owners are all residents of the town of Stratford, so it's nice to see our residents vision the pickleball and the facility itself, so it's nice to see our residents stepping up there, the 6 owners there, so great work there in that one.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, thank you for your report. And we'll now move on to Finance and Technology. I'll ask Councillor Dowling, who chairs that committee, to give his report. You've been a busy man lately. Oh, sorry, Councillor Jackson. Sorry, I'm living it in the past. Sorry.
We had a lot of change in the last
Yeah.
few months here, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's great. Thank you, Worship. Just before we get into the finance report, I want to thank my fellow councillors, your Worship, and staff for the lot of work that was done in February to develop the draft budget, and for being there when with the presentation. Talked to Wendy, but maybe re-recording that. Unfortunately, the sound didn't work, but it was a great presentation by all accounts. No, I'm just joking. I'd be happy to re-record it though. So thank you to all of my colleagues and all the staff. That was a lot of work through February and early March to get this ready. So I'm going to start with an overview of the projects going on in the finance department. A report from Director Kim O'Connell. So start off, utility collection letters have been issued. There were 235 first letters sent out with a due date of March 24th, 2025. On another note, letters have been sent out to vendors to let them know we are changing to an electronic payment system for payables. There's been a good uptake so far from vendors in this project, and that's great news again to move forward with the enhancements there. Director O'Connell attended the presentation of Phase 1 of the official plan and bylaw review. She attended a meeting with provincial representatives on the provincial stream of the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund funding. There was a meeting of Department of Managers. It actually met with Council during February to draft our county utility operating and capital budgets, as I mentioned earlier. A ton of work by staff all around on that. Another meeting was held with staff to discuss the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund applications for both the federal and the provincial stream. Finance Committee met and reviewed the town and utility operating and capital budgets. Another meeting was held with staff to discuss the ESRI, the GIS software for mapping and spatial analytics project. Town utility operating capital budgets were presented to the public, as I noted, on March 6, 2025, and comments are open until March 20th, 17th? 17th, sorry, March 17th, 2025. So by all means, if you have comments on the draft budget, please provide them to us, and we'll take them into account when we deliberate on our final draft. Staff within the Department of Training to learn new positions to cover when staff are out of the office, which is great news. Working on the Investing Canada Infrastructure Program, government claims for funding, that's the ISIP program. Staff are busy with day-to-day items, so appreciate Director O'Connell and all of the staff for everything they do, and just how busy it's been this time of year, especially with the uncertainty with tariffs and just everything else that's going on in the world right now. So thanks to everyone for that. That's a report on the departmental items. Any questions on that before I move just to one other thing?
question, wonder if you could give us an update in relation to the revenue sharing negotiations with the province.
Sure, it can maybe, not aware if there's anything right now, but we're anticipating, hopefully, the end of March, early April to hear something. Of course, we're optimistic that we're going to get a better deal from the province, and we do need that. It'll definitely be better, it has to be. But we're optimistic, and maybe I'll turn it over to Kim on that, but just if there's anything else.
Sorry about that. I know Jeremy has placed some calls to provincial representatives and to FPEIM. There was a changeover in staff there, so we haven't received any new update as far as when the next meeting is going to be, but we are making calls trying to kind of keep the project moving forward.
Is FPEIM spearheading it for the whole province, or is it
Yes.
for the smaller communities?
FPEIM is spearheading it for all the smaller communities plus us and Cornwall. The two bigger, the Summerside and Charlottetown, are on their own.
Yeah, rather than make you get up and go down all the time. Director O'Connell, I just had a question, just with respect to, when I look at the revenue from February on the utility side, I note there's a significant amount there over and above budget from donated capital from Clearview Estates.
Yeah.
Was that anticipated, though, from what I understand?
No,
Okay.
like, what that is just anytime we take over the water and sewer for a new subdivision, when a subdivision is signed over, they have to donate that capital to us, and we have to recognize it as revenue on our financial statements, and then we have to take over those assets and manage them after the subdivision is
Sure,
built.
yeah.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, though, this was not unanticipated necessarily, or just maybe the timing was.
It's, yeah, like, we don't put it in budget. We don't know when these subdivisions are going to come online, so I guess, yes, from a planning perspective, that we would know the Clearview Estates Phase 4 would be close to completion, so, yeah. Yeah. But we don't get the value until it reaches the state that we can actually sign off on the subdivision.
Thank you, yeah. And just a comment, I would just say, I just really want to extend my sincere appreciation to yourself and your staff, as well as Councillor Jackson, for all of your work over the budget process. It's another layer on top of an already busy docket, so really want to appreciate everybody in finance for doing such a good job on that.
Definitely a team effort.
I just wanted to say that I did attend the draft budget presentation, and Councillor Jackson did do a good job, even though you can't hear him. But the visual accompaniment that the staff, like the presentation itself, was really informative, and I think that's available for residents. And I really would encourage residents to have a look at it. It's outlines kind of how your tax dollars are being spent, and some of the information you may find really surprising and informative. So, and just encouraging folks to check that out. And again, Councillor Jackson, your presentation really was good. So thank you.
Yeah.
And the staff's work, of course. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, that was just a joke on the audio part of it, but thank you for that. And I do encourage folks to get out and look at that presentation. It was well done. And there are some things that are surprising in there. And just on the revenue sharing part of it, although it looks like it's we do get significantly less than a lot of other jurisdictions, and we're waiting on this new deal, but we do have significant investment from the province in this town. Want to remind folks of that. We see it every day with the school up there. We have another school coming. More services every day in our town. So just a reminder that it's a long game. It's we're I guess we're optimistic with where things are going. We'll deal with whatever the realities are next year, but we're hopeful that we're going to see significant increase in our revenue sharing.
I think that's a good point, Councillor. I think, yeah, we're very appreciative of all the contributions the province makes to our town. We're hoping that the revenue sharing will be, go sometime during this fiscal year to take, because it is becoming very challenging for budgeting for all municipalities, but especially for us because we're growing and, 30 years ago we didn't exist and now, we're sort of the new kids on the block. And so sometimes it's hard for some of the other areas of the province to realize that we exist and that we have over 12,000 people here, and we really need a lot of infrastructure and to build, things that have been built in other municipalities years ago. Yeah.
I could just follow up. My comment was not at all aimed as a slight to the province's contributions and continued and future contributions to our town, merely that sometimes residents will ask me or make a comment that, in regards to their tax dollar, where does it go? So even just that, explaining that in really simple terms, I think is not something everyone knows as to how much stays here in the town. So, yeah.
No, and I appreciate that. And then that wasn't, the intent of what I was saying. It was just really to remind folks, because I know even last year at the budget presentation, some of the folks were really shocked at what the numbers were as far as revenue sharing. But it's a work in progress, and we, it's not to let them off the hook. We are short, and it's a credit to our staff and council to be able to deliver the services we do with no increases. When we know, costs have increased exponentially here in the last few years. So it's a real credit to our staff, council to some extent, but really to our staff to be able to continue to do these things and provide more services. We've added some things in the last couple of years. So that's important. I guess any other questions? I just, while I have you, just want to remind folks of free income tax clinics that are available across the island. This is something I know my brother works for Canada Revenue, and I'm said I'd share this, but they do have across PEI, the Community Volunteer Income Tax Program does have either drop-ins, time for folks to go in Stratford at the public library. We do have drop-off service. So for residents who have modest income or a simple tax situation, they're more than happy to help do your tax for you. So if you want to drop it off anytime from March 4th to April 25th at the library, so Tuesday and Wednesday 9:30 to 8:30, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday 9:30 to 5:30, those go to volunteer tax experts to do your tax. The important thing of that is, so for a lot of folks that may be on fixed income, to qualify for heat pump programs, for even the switch program when it was going, you have to have your taxes filed. There's dollars there that provincial and federal government want to get to islanders, so it's important to file your tax to do that. So if resources was an issue, these folks will help you do that for free. And often will do more than 1 year if someone is behind. So just a shout out to them. Call 902-569-7441 or email stratford@gov.pe.ca for more information on the free tax program. That's it for me.
Thank you for mentioning that, Councillor Jackson. It is a fantastic program and helps people kind of keep ahead of the taxation issue when circumstances might otherwise not permit them to have their returns completed, and they may not have the capability themselves to do so. So it's greatly appreciated that all of the volunteers are putting that program in this community and communities across PEI. It's a wonderful program.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Councillor, for your leadership on this, on the budget this year, and for leading this file. I appreciate it. Good work, and good work to the Finance Director, Kim O'Connell, and her staff, and the Council, who really worked together with regard to all our priorities, and really came up, I think, with a fair, balanced budget that is. It was really challenging, but I think with your leadership, Councillor, and with everyone around the table here, and in this room, I think we came up with the best product possible. So thank you all for that. We'll now move on to Planning, Development, and Heritage. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councillor Jeff McDonald, to give his report.
Thank you very much, excuse me, Mayor Ogden. So certainly it's been a very busy time here at the town. I mean, I'm sure I could say that every month, but in particular this month, the review of our official plan process and the public-facing nature of those consultations over the month of February has been very fruitful, though certainly has been an enormous ask on our staff, in particular Scott Carnell, our long-range planner, who has been responsible for doing a lot of that wrangling, but he's certainly not alone. Certainly Phil Ruff, Sarah Kennedy, and everybody else in the planning department, including our director, have been very involved in that process and have been dutifully attending our engagement sessions. We are wrapping up the community conversations that we've been having with respect to our official plan. And our official plan, of course, is very much like our constitution for our town, though it's certainly something that we revisit every once in a while as a result of the requirements of the Municipal Government Act. It's an opportune time, I think, to do so, and it's been very good to do so. I'd just like to remind everybody that our community conversations have wrapped. Each of those have had a different topic for discussion. They are all available for review on our official plan project page. Residents can submit comments and feedback on any of that community conversations should they wish to do so until Friday, March 21st, I believe at noon. I would encourage everybody to visit our town's website to take a look at that. Your feedback is vital, as it does inform our deliberations on what will be incorporated into our new official plan. And as I did state, our official plan is very much like our constitution, and certainly guides our decision-making processes and our overall vision for the town. So that is, of course, in conjunction with our very busy time here at Council of our budgetary process. As always, it's been a very rewarding, though difficult process, and I want to thank my fellow councillors as well as town staff for all of the diligence and work and the really good faith discussions that have been had on our priorities for funding, as well as some of the challenges that we're going to be facing. Again, I noted this before, but I do want to give credit to Councillor Jackson for his steady stewardship of that file at a very critical time for our town. With that in mind, I will turn to some of our planning-related items, and February is typically somewhat of a quieter month for development applications, though certainly we are ahead of where we are at this time last year by some $200-some thousand. We have an interesting mix in the development application process with semi-detached applications as well as commercial. And the commercial continues a trend that really started taking off last year in terms of the development value as it relates to our portfolio of development fees, as well as the mix of development that we're seeing in the town. And that's still certainly reflected in our overall numbers from 2025, with commercial now leading the way. That, of course, won't always be the case, but I think it was just due to one of those lagging factors where we have a certain critical mass of population in our town, and then the commercial development will certainly follow. So our minutes are there in the agenda packages, and I certainly don't, I won't belabor those though. Now they are there for your review. I will turn to, sorry, here, I just got to bring up my agenda. We have essentially one resolution for us for consideration, and this is a follow-up as a result of in the first reading that had occurred last month following a public meeting, as well as some deliberations at Planning Committee, and that's Resolution PH 0052025 A002-24. This is the child care numbers text amendments, and this is now for a second reading. It comes from Planning and Heritage and is moved by myself as chair of that committee. And it reads as follows. Whereas several text amendments have been identified to bring the Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45 into conformance with the Provincial Early Learning and Child Care Act and associated regulations. The amendments proposed to refer to the Provincial Early Learning and Child Care Act and regulations when determining the number of children permitted per child care center to allow for a dynamic bylaw, reducing the need for future amendments. And whereas in accordance with Section 3.2.3 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, notice of the amendments in public meeting occurred through the placement of an advertisement in the local Guardian newspaper on 2 separate occasions, being January the 18th and the 21st. Notification letters were sent to licensed child care center operators within the town, and notice of the public meeting was also posted on the town's Facebook and YouTube page. Whereas a public meeting was held on January 29th, 2025 at 7 p.m. with 1 child care center operator in attendance. This public meeting was live streamed on the town's Facebook and YouTube sites, and residents were given until 12 noon on the 31st of January to submit their comments. Whereas planning staff received no written comments from residents or child care center operators. Whereas one amendment has been made to bylaw number 45R since first reading to capture unlicensed child care centers. As such, the said changes shall be read prior to a decision on this resolution in accordance with Section 125.3 of the Municipal Government Act. Be it therefore resolved that bylaw number 45R, which is a bylaw to amend our zoning and development bylaw, be hereby read and approved a second time. So that is the that is the text of the bylaw. Mr. Mayor, I will request a seconder at this
This
time.
resolution bears.
Don't apologize. Yes, it does bear the recommendation of Planning and Heritage as discussed at a meeting held on February 3rd, 2025. Thank you.
Yeah, seconder for that? Oh, thank you, Councillor Cox. Okay, any discussion on this?
What does this give us? You're talking about single dwelling residents for childcare and so on in different neighborhoods?
So a good question. So as a result of our processes, I do have to read in the actual change to the definition. So the amendment would read as follows, and this is, it's in your agenda item packages 12C, and it's in a red box. So it'll read as follows. It's to add the following definition of a family home center. And so there's a child care center and family home, which means a licensed center located in a private residence where the operator is authorized to provide services to children, including the children of the operator as regulated in the Early Learning and Child Care Act and regulations, and amendments thereto. And child care center, family home means a licensed or unlicensed center located in a private residence where the operator is authorized to provide services to children, including the children of the operator, as regulated in the Early Learning and Child Care Act. So it changes it, Deputy Mayor, to, it was restricted to simply licensed, now it's going to be as well licensed and unlicensed.
Just a matter of numbers, because unlicensed, you can care for up to, I believe it's 5, is it? 6? 8, up to 8? Okay, so you can care for up to 8 children.
Okay.
And not be licensed, but if you care for 8 or more, then you need a license. You need to go to the year-long program, early learning program at Holland College or
Yeah.
whatever, have that certification.
Is there any restrictions on parking and like drop off and stuff like that? Is there space, is there meters or space or, you know it's going to be busier in different neighborhoods when they start up, right?
Yeah, and that's covered under the bylaw.
Under this bylaw?
Planning.
And just so it's clear, anytime this use is considered, they do have to make an application still to
Okay.
planning, and it still has to be considered. So parking and otherwise would certainly have to be considered as part of that development application.
Yeah, okay.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion?
The capacity is also in the regulations in accordance with the square footage of property and allowed space
Yeah.
used for childcare, so.
That's correct.
Open volume and otherwise.
That's
Okay.
correct. And Councillor Dowling, you're absolutely right. And I mean, of course, very rare, but there is, of course, the potential, for instance, in an apartment or condo style setting to have one. And of course, that would be limited very much by the square footage of that dwelling.
Anyway, this is the final comment. I think this is something, childcare is a real issue in our town. There's a real demand for it, and I think anything we can do to make sure that we keep the current supply as well as encouraging people to enter the business is good, because we certainly didn't want to exclude the unlicensed, excuse me, childcare establishments who care for, mostly people who care for a few kids, 1 or 2 kids, or 3 or 4
Yeah.
kids in their home. And we didn't want to sort of make anything more difficult for them. So
Yeah.
I think the amendment is a good one. And
I believe the unlicensed, or the licensed, the unlicensed, can you apply for the childcare, the federal project they have going on now, if it's unlicensed?
I don't
The
think
$10
so.
a day?
No, I
No,
don't believe so.
you got to be licensed.
Yeah.
But they still are busy. There's still a big demand for it.
Yes, okay, I understand that, yeah. But it's sort of inviting as a parent for the $10 a day,
Yeah, but the capacity is so,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
the threshold's a little bit higher
Yeah.
for those, and so people
Yeah.
are, it's easier for people to get into the business
Yeah.
as an unlicensed operator and have just a few children.
I think the whole idea of the $10 daycare is to have people trained, like child development, like give them higher salaries to participate in that program. And the Collin College and these places have these facilities and have well-qualified people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's numbers, ratios of care workers
Yeah,
to children and licensing requirements and, the spaces and all that sort of thing, whereas a child care is more like caring for a child in your own home,
Yeah.
so.
But you're absolutely right, Deputy Mayor. It's better for both sides. It's better for the parents. It's better
Yeah.
for the operators because we're getting federal funding support to provide a very valuable service.
yeah,
I mean, and I appreciate where the federal government's coming from. There has to be some controls on the notion, and the control comes down in the form of the licensing versus the unlicensed. I mean, there's a very valid question about there in terms of fairness between, is it fair that somebody who gets, their child into a licensed center paying $10 versus somebody who doesn't have that, I guess,
Yeah.
opportunity
Yeah.
and has to rely
Oh,
on an
that's right.
unlicensed
That's a
center.
good point.
And I'm not saying that the care received in an unlicensed
No.
center is in any shape or fashion less than they might get in a licensed center,
no,
but it's just an extra cost that parent has
Yeah.
to bear. And so anything I think the province can do to get numbers up in terms of the licensing will be good for both the providers as well as the families, for sure. Yeah.
I take it the province does inspections for these
Yeah, it's all
establishments?
a provincial.
Yeah,
This is putting our bylaw in compliance
Okay.
with the provincial bylaw.
yep,
That's my understanding.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
basically for two things. It's to make it a flexible document so that should these regulations be updated in the future, then hopefully we don't have to go back and re-tinker with this again. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Call for the question. All those in favor?
All right.
Anyone against? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So the next resolution that I'm going to ask for at this point in time is the companion resolution to that, and this is the adoption resolution, and it's PH 006-2025, A002-24, childcare numbers, text amendments, Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45, adoption. Moved by myself as Chair of Planning and Heritage. And reads as follows. Whereas bylaw number 45R, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, was read and approved the first time on February the 12th, 2025. And whereas bylaw number 45R, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, was read and approved the second time on March 12th, 2025. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45R, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, be hereby adopted, and that the mayor and chief administrative officer be authorized to affix their signatures in the corporate seal of the town thereto, and to be formally declared the said bylaw passed. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on February 3rd, 2025.
Any seconder? Thank you. All those, any discussion at this point? If not, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Thank you, Councillor.
You're welcome, Mr. Mayor. That's the end of my formal report. One last thing that I'd just like to add, two things, is just in terms of community events, I'd like to keep everybody apprised of. Stratford Elementary has hosted a number of community members, including Corporal Painter, who was with us here earlier, as well as other members of the community. It's French Week. They really wanted to promote those in our community who are still using French on a secondary basis to come in and to present to students and have a discussion with them about how important continuing on the French language is. I had that opportunity to go in to speak to two classes yesterday on Tuesday. It was a really worthwhile experience. Hope that we can be invited back again next year, and I think it's a really good way. Anytime we have the opportunity to go in and connect with younger members of our community or seniors, it's a wonderful thing, and it was really great. Finally, just like to give a shout out to Stratford Minor Basketball, who's just completed a very successful banner year in terms of their season. We've had a record number of children participating in the program, making very full use of our facilities here at Town Hall, as well as some of the affiliated elementary schools in the region. I really want to extend my sincere appreciation to the recreation staff for really being so accommodating to the groups, and to all of the parents for all of their time and effort getting the children to the program. And we look forward for more success in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. With regard to your participation in French Week, j'ai entendu dire que vous avez parlé très bien.
Je pense que l'année prochaine, avec votre facilité dans la langue française, tu vas participer.
Pas de chance. Okay, we'll move on to, oh, sorry. Oh, Councillor
Yeah,
Jackson, I'm sorry.
Just one last comment, and I don't know if this is, I may have, next time, I will. But, and I'm not sure if it's kind of a planning and a safety services, and I meant to mention this at previous meetings, but I want to thank not only safety services, but planning and the staff who have looked after what were some parking issues in certain areas of the town. And it is, Deputy Mayor, it is a good news story, because I know this, one area of the town was kind of bandied about as a bad example of parking and planning, and actually with enforcement of the parking, no parking on the street. I drive by there every day, and I've never seen cars parked in the street, so I do want to comment and thank staff, council, and the committee members who are involved in remedying that situation, because it's one that we can point to as a good news story now, where it was not always. So just
I think
wanted to bring
that's
that
a
up.
good example of,
Yep.
of why we sit around this table and why we discuss things like that, and why we have public meetings, because those concerns were brought up at a public meeting, and staff and council worked together to get it addressed, and it was addressed. So it is a good news story, and thank you for your part in that. I know you were on safety services in that at that time, and I know that there's a lot of work that's done to get those things addressed, and it was addressed. So good news.
Your
Thank you.
Worship, just on that point, it's great to see a positive outcome as we move forward with our official plan. We're coming to realize as we explore densification, there's a significant concern raised from time to time in relation to parking issues, and it's good to know that we have a model through which we can exemplify and how to remedy and manage those types of issues if they go beyond properties inaccessibly on the street. And that's a lot of people's concerns as well. There's going to be cars parked all over the street. That's not necessarily the case. There is going to be some in some instances, but when it becomes a significant problem, we have a tried and true remedy for it.
Yep, that's a good point. Thank you. Okay, thanks everybody for that discussion. We'll now move on to infrastructure. I'll ask Deputy Mayor Gallant, who chairs that committee, to give his report.
Thank you, Worship. We didn't have a meeting last month. Snowstorm, a couple days off there. So the capital projects continue to progress with the tender of Glen Stewart Drive multi-use paved trail. Having just closed yesterday. Bids are reviewed for the consultant, and the recommendation for award to be brought to the infrastructure committee later this month. Construction is expected to begin in July following the school year, which is good to hear. Design and work is near complete for both the Aptos sewer lift station decommissioning project at the Reeves Estate water distribution replacement project. Funding will be pursued for the Reeves Estates water distribution replacement project through the Canadian Housing Infrastructure Fund. The Council has made the decision to move the construction of the Aptos sewer lift station decommissioning project ahead to the 2026-27 budget year. There seems to be a full restoration, a lull in registration for the sump pump redirection rebate program. We are hopeful that with the milder weather bringing rain and snow melt, the awareness of sump pumps running out will prompt residents to sign up for the new program. There's still funding available, and the program will run until funds are depleted. Infrastructure staff is busy with the following, providing input and finalization of the 2025-26 budget, preparing the work plans for 25-26 fiscal year, preparing and submitting an application for active transportation funding and Canada Housing Infrastructure funding. Our horticulturist Heidi Wood has begun a 4-part workshop on preparing for spring gardening. All sessions are fully sold out and booked and will run until March 17th. It was nice to hear. This is our first year hosting that, and it's sold out. Great work by Heidi and her staff there. Rig maintenance through the month of February consists of regular snow removal and flooding. They're no longer be maintained due to the milder weather, but we're fortunate enough to get maybe 6 to 8 weeks there. For the residents and Bunbury and Pondside. It was nice to, and I want to congratulate, thanks Jeannie for putting that stuff together, and Jason and staff there. It was great to put it everything together, so they worked out really well. We got 6 to 8 weeks in, and my phone wasn't ringing at all this year. Winter maintenance and grooming of trails is ongoing. Brush trimming and removal to the widened trails was completed in Fuller's Conversation Park. Other sections of trail throughout the town will be completed before the end of the March. Snow clearing and salting of walkways and parking lots is ongoing. Painting of public areas at the town hall complex continues. Liability risk assessments completed by our insurance provider on 6 of our buildings. We are pleased to report that no major concerns were identified. Utility staff participated in several training opportunities offered PEI through MPWA-ACWWA. Water and sewer inspections, meter installations, and water turn-ons for new development are ongoing. Ongoing inspection and maintenance of water and sewer systems and facilities, managing ongoing customer and resident inquiries and concerns. And during the month of February, there were no sewer or water emergencies, which is good to hear. There was a minor blockage in the gravity sewer main that necessitated use of a sewer jetter machine to resolve. Problem was resolved quickly, and no customers were negatively impacted. And that is my report, Your Worship.
Well, thanks for your report. Any comments or questions on the report?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your report,
I
Deputy
wanted
Mayor.
to thank, same as Councillor with the budget and all the staff and son and Jeannie and on the infrastructure budget. I want to thank you. As it was a great, things went smooth this year, quick, and it was well organized, and that's testament to you people behind the scenes and with us. So I want to thank you people for that. So it's great. Thank you.
Okay, I think the next one will be yours as well, Deputy Mayor. Committee of the Whole, there's an infrastructure resolution there. I wonder if you'd move that.
Oh. Yes. The Town of Stratford Resolution CW005-2025, Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund, the Committee of the Whole, moved by myself, Deputy Mayor Steve Gland, whereas on April 16th, 2024, the Government of Canada announced $6 billion in federal funding over 10 years to establish the Canadian Housing Infrastructure Fund. SHIFT CHIF aims to accelerate the construction and upgrading housing, enabling drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, and solid wastewater infrastructure, directly supporting the creation of new homes and increasing densification. This investment is a part of Government of Canada's commitment to address the impacts of housing crisis in communities all across Canada. Whereas the Housing Infrastructure Communities Canada has committed $86.2 million over 10 years to the province of Prince Edward Island through the provincial territorial stream to administer and deliver funding to its communities to support provincial priorities while advancing federal housing and objectives. Whereas the town of Stratford is committed to growing its community and supporting additional housing needs as demonstrated by the Housing Supply Challenge and the Housing Accelerator Fund Program. Being resolved, the application being submitted on the provincial territorial stream of the CHIF program to support development within the town of Stratford, town as follows. A project titled Flourish Heights Municipal Service Extension. Total estimated cost is $13,869,144. Extension of water and sewer storm systems within the core area of Stratford. $11,292,600. And the council understands and commits that it will be responsible for its designated share of the eligible costs of this project.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Oh, thank you, Councillor. Councillor McDonald. Discussion.
So, just, go ahead.
Oh, if I might, yeah, so just from what I understand, this is a housing fund, mostly a housing fund, though certainly infrastructure-driven to assist municipalities in creating new housing units, and certainly want to appreciate town staff as well as our provincial and federal partners to kind of get it to this point. From what I understand, and I stand to be corrected, is that certainly we have 2 items there listed under this potential resolution, though I understand that the fund is still open and we can entertain other applications. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, absolutely. The fund is still open, and these 2 projects were ones that are essentially shovel-ready, and they also gave the benefit of demonstrating the amount of housing that can be done with these projects. But we are looking at other developers and our own projects within the community also to send in additional applications. And these are going to be reviewed by a committee and through federal and provincial representatives, so there'll be decisions made on that as well. But no, it's definitely not closed, and there will be other developers and, like I said, our own projects that we're going to work on.
Great. Thank you.
And I guess the idea of this fund is to provide the infrastructure that's necessary for new housing so that it does, right now those kinds of projects are basically unaffordable for a lot of developers and for the town, for example. There are areas of the town that could support more housing that are already established neighborhoods, but with vacant lots and large lots that could support, for example, secondary suites and other housing approaches, but don't have the infrastructure to support it. So this will hopefully allow those areas to be provided with sewer and water and necessary infrastructure. Any other comments or questions? I'll call for the question then. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And thanks for your comments, Councillor McDonald. I think it was between infrastructure and housing, but there is definitely a planning housing element to it, and that's one is reason for the other. Next item is sustainability. I'll ask Jill Chandler, who's the chair of that committee, Councillor Jill Chandler, recipient of King Charles Coronation Medal, to give her report.
Thank you so much. The Sustainability Committee met in February and will meet again in April. It's a every second month meeting. Launch of the residential tree planting program and community gardens are both accepting applications at this time. Also, Fix a Leak Week is beginning on Monday through the 23rd, and we're collaborating with the City of Charlottetown, Town of Cornwall as part of this initiative. And on an aside, just as a resident here, my water bill was high. The town staff were really great and pointed out that possibly I could have a leak, and I didn't know, and of course I did. It's that easy. So I would encourage folks to check that out. Something as simple as a leaking toilet that you may not be aware of can make a big difference. Also be promoting the town of Stratford's water conservation programs, including the sump pump rebate, shower head exchange, and the toilet rebate program. The water school is set to take place again this year, April 7th through 24th, and this is the program that provides grade 5 students with an opportunity to learn about watersheds, water conservation, and the importance of protecting local water resources. This is where we recognize their art, is it not? Yeah. Yes, and we got to kind of showcase them in a town council meeting, but it's great to have that youth engagement. First week focuses on Stratford schools, and then there's going to be participation, ideally from Charlottetown schools, in the second week. The town has launched a recent radio campaign, so I'm told, thanks Stratford, to support local businesses. And at an upcoming meeting with a date yet to be determined, we will hope to lead a reinvigorated Stratford business group. And I know we've talked with members of the local business community as well with some of our colleagues in Charlottetown to see if there may be a potential to get some folks involved. And I do think it's very, very important that we engage our business community when we look towards things like e-watch cameras and just overall that we're servicing their needs as well. So that's where we are right now. And I think, as said in other comments, with the current state of affairs, and you're hearing it across the province and across the country, but it has really never been more important to support local businesses and buy local. And that is local small businesses. It's also large-scale businesses like our grocery stores. They employ our kids, and that sort of thing. So we really have to, whenever we can, shop locally and show our support. So that's all for the sustainability side of things. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Jackson?
Yeah, if I may, just picking up on your comments around the business community and engaging with them. I just wonder if there's ever been a thought about kind of, I think I've mentioned this before, but maybe every second year polling our business community as opposed to our residents. So maybe on every second year, have residents 1 year, business the next year. I just realized that within, an annual survey, by the time you get through the results and you get to develop some initiatives, there's really hardly any time to ever evaluate or even to put them in place. So in thinking about how we can better engage with the business community, I would encourage us to look at that as an option, so that every 2 years you can kind of have a year to work on outcomes that were identified in the survey, and just to give us a little bit more chance to be able to implement some of these things. It is, our resident survey is an excellent tool for us, and it's, every year we hear lots of great things and how we can improve. It'd be nice to have some similar effort put into the business community with that time to be able to implement. That's all.
So so you're suggesting that instead of
Yeah.
offering both surveys annually?
Just go every second year with each one.
Okay, so,
Just for that reason, that it does give us more time to implement, for us to look at what the feedback was, and actually budget for it. Because if you have some good suggestions that come out of one of these surveys, by the time you get kind of results and any plan developed, I mean, we do it. It's magic how we do some of the things that we do. But to have a little more time to plan, I think it wouldn't hurt. So, or even if it's every year with the residents and every second year of business, it's just with things changing so much as they have in the last 10 years in Stratford, something to think about.
I think you make some good points, Councillor, and I would suggest maybe that we refer that to the Sustainability Committee for discussion, and also if recommendation, and then we can maybe move, if they recommendation to council for a committee of the whole, and have a full discussion at that table.
yes, I think perhaps, and maybe I am mistaken, obviously the business communications and business sustainability is a part of that committee, but I would view that more as something that is the engagement, like intergovernment. I'm not sure. Anyway, there is some crossover between which committee.
Yeah,
We'll
and
discuss that, but.
They're both your committees, so.
But yeah, we'll figure out where we'll discuss it, Councillor Jackson, and certainly make it added to an agenda, an upcoming agenda.
I just want to add one comment there. The residential tree program, planting program, last 2 years, I participated in this and got a tree each year, and it's really great. It's very simple. You dig a hole, put the clay beside it, they come along, put the plant, they plant it inside, and then they fill it in, and everything is just, it's really, and for $50, it's you're getting a $200 or $300 tree. It's non-invasive. It's been cleared to be here in Stratford, and also, like when the hurricane happened, I lost a bunch of trees, and so I got 2 trees in the last 2 years. And also, Councillor Chandler, when you're talking about supporting local businesses, I also purchased 3 trees from Woods Nursery that they planted, and these were 15-year-old trees. And so it was nice to be able to support Woods Nursery and also be able to participate in this great program. So I just give kudos to that.
Great, good for you. Thanks.
If I can jump on that comment for a moment. The residential tree program is a great program. If there are opportunities for more than, what we're normally kind of allowing in that, I've heard from a lot of folks in my old ward, Ward 2, along the Stratford Road, where Maritime Electric is coming and unfortunately just cut down everything in sight. And I know they have to do that. But if those folks in those areas could be, if there's extra, if they could be allowed to purchase at the same rate, some more, because it's really coming down from, the Pondside subdivision past Pondside Park and up towards the Blue Church. It's just, it's kind of awful looking. So I know some of the folks there would welcome the opportunity. One of the other things I did mention was the Sawwigs annual membership drive. They usually have, you buy your membership and you get some trees for that. So I've encouraged that as well. But I know just with Maritime Electric's prep for the next big storm, there's been a lot of cutting done. So if there's some way we can try to get those trees planted, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
It's good to see Maritime Electric doing it, but it is pretty unsightly at the same time.
Yeah, I think there's always a demand for more trees, different areas. I know developers sometimes are cutting trees, and it was one thing that was discussed at the community conversation last night at the environmental and agriculture one was there seems to be a sentiment for moving forward by residents that we should be looking at a tree bylaw to, when trees are cut, that they're replaced somewhere else, or either 1 for 1 or 2 for 1, or other municipalities have this kind of a rule, and it seems to work quite well. So those are the sorts of things. I know we had a tree bylaw moving forward with the previous council. I'm not sure where it stands right now, but it may be something that we could revive and put back into the process, because it is something that I think we need to consider as a council, how we make sure that we do what we can to get the carbon sink and the tree canopy that we need. It makes things look a lot better, and shade and that sort of thing, windbreak and everything. So there's a lot of real advantages to it. So
I feel as though, although I could be misinformed, that stipulation at one time in the program was the location of the tree being planted was a front yard tree. So that in itself would have it closer to a power line and be in Maritime Electric's, I suspect. So maybe even if there was an accommodation or an opportunity to have the tree planted outside of that area, possibly.
Just to be aware of the reason why that is that we're working on creating a treescape along our streets. And what that does is help shade, help lessen environmental impact from rains and runoff and stuff. So that's why that program was in place. And I think due to the funding that we receive for that program, that is part of why that restriction is in place, versus being able to just plant a tree anywhere.
So the Maritime Electric cutting is not necessarily trees they received as part of our program. It's just that what they're doing.
No, not at
first,
all.
yeah.
Okay.
Not at all, but they are in the right of way, I guess, so they are fair game to be cut, but it's just totally changed the look of it. Now, as I said, with Sawwig, the watershed group having their tree giveaway, I think there's an opportunity there for some smaller trees that will take a long time to get to that Maritime Electric level. So there will be options, and I just made the residents aware of different ideas on how they could do that. They weren't cutting down any of the trees that we put in. It was just kind of
Right, the changing
Yeah.
to the landscape, treescape.
And there is criteria within our residential tree planting program for the distance that the tree has to be planted away from power lines. It is not as stringent as what Maritime Electric would like to see enforced, but on behalf of CADAF can speak, I guess, but I know her and Maddie in the past have been in touch with Charlottetown as well, and they also disagree with the distance that Maritime Electric do want to require for that, as it would essentially not allow the majority of homes in a community like Stratford or Charlottetown to have a tree anywhere on their property. Like, it's a pretty substantial distance that they see as ideal. So our program is in line with Charlottetown's, and the environmental sustainability coordinators have coordinated on what they feel is
Yeah, it's a balance between the intent of the program and what Maritime Electric's ideal situation would be.
Yeah.
Like you say, no trees.
Working together.
Not that they don't want trees, but the distance is is much larger than what
Yeah.
would be reasonable for a program.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Your Worship, no, I just want to commend the committee and staff on the Think Stratford radio campaign. Those ads are very impactful. I think in this environment, you know, it's important that we focus not only municipally, provincially, regionally, but also nationally on our purchases. And I know Director Watts, I'm not sure if it's, I think it's within this committee, perhaps a business sustainability aspect. I know Director Watts has been working on initiatives over the last number of years and basically enhancing communications between the town and the various businesses, and forming a kind of a quasi business group in conjunction with our association with the Charlottetown Chamber of Commerce. And I'm just wondering if at some point we could get an update on where we're at with that, whether it's today or sometime in the future.
Yeah, and just while Wendy's getting to the podium, I have had discussions as well with the president of the Charlottetown, Greater Charlottetown Chamber, just about that, about having a group specifically of Stratford businesses, and you know, and she's quite open to that. So yeah, sorry, go ahead, Wendy.
Yeah, so as was reported there, we do have an upcoming meeting. We don't have a date scheduled yet, but we will be setting that probably in April, and looking to bring the community back together, the business community, through that Stratford Business Group. The Chamber has always been invited and part of those conversations, and will continue to be. But yeah, we'll be working with Councillor Chandler to set a date and a bit of a kind of program for that initial conversation. And there have been a few business people that have approached me in recent months saying, it's time, let's see if we can get this energized again. So yeah.
That obviously would provide us with the opportunity to not only have direct communication and share initiatives around IT and so on and so forth, and maybe build a kind of unified approach towards IT protections within the business community, at least provide them with input from our professionals here on town staff, but also enable, further to Councillor Jackson's point earlier, enable us to develop real-time concerns or receipt of real-time concerns from the business communities, that we can be better able to address those concerns as we go forward. And also, I think a more unified approach among the community businesses will beget a more unified approach from the community insofar as shopping local and visiting, participating community businesses. But appreciate your work on that, Director Watts.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor. Okay, back to sustainability.
The next item is just the transit report, which is just the quick graphic at this point. As we noted last month, transit ridership had taken a little dip as compared to the same period last year. We're on a slow rise up again, and we'll just see where we head. There's all kinds of variables that could be taken under consideration: extreme cold, snowy weather, etc., like cancellations in businesses, whatever, all can affect ridership. So I don't think it's a huge deal that it was low beginning this year and is on a slower climb. We'll just wait and see where we're at. And I don't know if, sorry.
We did have a presentation from the service provider here about a week ago, and we're also in contract negotiations with the provider, and we will be attending several meetings in the future, one tomorrow. But they indicated across the board, it seems like ridership has plateaued a little bit. There's been a lot of steady climb over the years, but it's not just our community. They're seeing it across Charlottetown and Cornwall as well. But as we look at new routes, which we are going to be looking at this year, that'll probably improve ridership as we go along. But with the existing routes the way they are now, there seems to have been a bit of a plateau on those, and that's why we're seeing that, we're not seeing that steady increase right now, is what he indicated.
And do they, and we can have further discussions on that, but are there factors or speculations or, like, have they explained the plateau?
No, they didn't entirely, but they are looking into that further, and I probably will have some more to report on that in the future. But I just think for us, we have the same routes for so long now that there is internal transit that we're looking at. And, we've had things like DVA was under construction that did take some of our ridership away, but.
That's 4 years ago.
Yep, and, but also that, immigration is not increasing the way it was as well. So there's several factors, but I just wanted to say that it's not just this community, it's others as well that are plateauing, so.
Right.
But I'll have more to report on that later.
But it was a colder February, and it was actually a record for February, so it's still good
Jeremy,
news.
this question?
Still good news.
Still good news, yes, it's just,
Yeah.
it's just
So
up
with this,
a little.
we're looking at, moving forward now, with the agreement with Cornwall and Charlottetown, are we looking at different times and more transit and so on in the town? I know Ward 3, we did a pilot project years ago, we tried the best to get it going, and the ridership wasn't there. Are we gonna have buses going in that area, say Clearview, close to that area, to hop on, hop off? Are we gonna look at anything different?
We are looking at some internal routes right now.
Yeah.
Also looking at the rural transit system that is coming right by those communities, subdivisions that could stop at the end of those subdivisions.
Yeah.
And our provider is looking at whether or
Yeah.
not that's feasible, and he indicates it may be.
Yeah.
So there's several options that we're looking at. Also, as we start to develop areas around Reeves Estates and such, and expand the routes through there, the roads,
Yeah.
then once those connections are made, it's much easier for the transit
Yeah.
buses to go through there. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that are going to happen here in the near future, but he'll be coming in to make a presentation to council. Hope to set that up in the next month or so to kind of look at what the internal routes would look like, and where we plan to have transit provided in the community.
Yeah, I'm hearing the times are difficult for some people. Shift workers are difficult. People in shift work, if you work at the hospital, start at 7 in the morning. There's no ridership there at all. But I guess we've got to go over the flow, I guess.
Yeah, no, we're looking at several options.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the evolution of the system. Like I would caution us against changing what is working well right now. I echo what Deputy Mayor says with Ward 3, but I think we have some other options that we could look at. I mean, I know there's been rideshare kind of ideas in other areas that have worked well, or the on-demand type system that is a little more efficient maybe than what, the massive expense of running a route. So it takes time. I do appreciate what Deputy Mayor is saying, and we've heard it in Ward 3. But with the changes that are coming, with the connections that are going to happen, and potentially looking at some options, I think we're in a good place to continue to expand and gradually grow.
Yes.
Okay, good discussion. Thanks for that.
And-
Sorry, go ahead,
So, no, I was just
Councillor.
going to add, and I've said this before, to me, it's really, really important to communicate, to engage residents and potential riders to find out exactly, what aspects of the current system are meeting their needs and what things aren't meeting their needs, so that we can actually make informed decisions, as opposed to kind of build it and they'll come, or whatever it is, that I think that we could tailor the product or the service to people's needs better. And I think that the times right now are limiting, from what I hear.
Hopefully,
It's
we'll
for
be able.
some.
Thank you, Councillor. Hopefully, we'll be able to have a meeting in the future where we're going to ask councillors to leave their vehicles at home and take the bus or walk or take their bikes or whatever.
I've done the bus ride and the rural route a couple of times, so yeah.
I
It is
rode the buses
interesting.
for a couple of years, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Yes,
Read the paper and, you know, just to work on your computer or whatever. It's great.
I think it is, and it is, I think it is a different experience when you're using it, like, you know, locally to try and to get somewhere specifically, as opposed to like, we're just seeing how this all, you know? But I think that we're working towards improvements, and that's the most important thing.
Yep.
So, so the next report is the Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability Committee. And as we discussed, the annual resident survey launched online on March 4th and will close April 22nd. Paper copies will be mailed later this month to households for those who prefer to complete the survey. Naturally, we encourage all residents to participate, and I would ask my fellow councillors that in any opportunities you have to encourage people to participate, whether it's through your own social media platforms, etc. But this is an important document that we still currently rely on, and it makes me feel better. I think it does you guys as well, when we have that engagement, and that we feel that we are hearing from, you know, cross sections of our population, and that we're representing them to the best of our ability. So whenever you can, encourage people to fill that out, especially with the online option. It's really not hard or not time consuming. Ongoing meetings continue to be held with all levels of government on a variety of topics and matters. Again, the U.S. tariff issue is being monitored by town staff and council, and as we discussed before, people are reviewing and adjusting product, services, ordering in their habits, et cetera. Again, we can support the buy local, buy PEI message as much as we can. The results matter. Key performance indicators for the town of Stratford will begin being updated for 2024. These are reported annually on a newly launched web portal, which can be accessed on the town's website. And we are currently preparing for the next Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability meeting. And I do want to say, just to echo Councillor Cox's point on the poppy piece, for example, and I've said this a couple of times, I'm really proud of the engagement of our residents on this arts and culture initiative, not because it's an arts and culture initiative, because it is drawing and attracting people who may not have participated in town initiatives previously. It's drawing interest from residents outside of our town, so we have people from Cornwall, knitting groups, et cetera. And on our social media, mentions of that initiative are trending higher than, I don't know, the majority of things that we post. So I love that piece, and that is a successful engagement initiative. When you mentioned Heidi's workshops, that those being full, us realizing that she is an expert in what she does, and that there is an appetite for residents to learn more, that we're providing useful, you know, programs for them. These are engagement pieces. So engagement means a lot of different things, but I love what the town staff are doing, and I can see that there is that uptick and appetite from residents. And the more that we continue as councillors to share that messaging, the more people we get involved. So that's all I have for that. If anyone has any questions.
I just have a couple of comments. First of all, I think with regard to the survey, I think it's important, and I think Manager of Engagement and Business and Community Engagement, Wendy Watts, has made the point as well previously that there are results, the results of the survey guide council decisions, and there are actually things you can point to that resulted from a question that was asked on the survey. It resulted in council making a decision with that in mind. So I think that's important for councillors to, or for residents to realize that council is a valuable guiding tool for council in our decision making. The second thing I wanted to point out is with regard to things like the Poppy Project and Heidi's workshop. I've got an old credo that I often use that people get tired of probably, but it's invest in success, it's learn from things that are working and really build on them. And I think these are the kinds of things that we have limited capacity, but we now know, based on the success of these two projects, what works. And then the water school is another example. That really results in water conservation in our community. I think initially our water conservation, our water usage was way below what was projected because of the water school. The fact that I think we were 1.76 cubic meters per year or whatever, and the average was around 2 cubic meters per year, and so quite a substantial saving for the town, and as a result of investing in that project. So I think those are the sorts of things that we as a council and as a town can really learn from and really think about, like at budget time and when we do have discretion around how we're spending our money, our taxpayers' money.
And I think, well, I mean, most of the things, if we look at the events and these initiatives, they have, they're low barriers, like to access, with minimal costs or no cost. They draw people for connection, and they offer people the opportunity to contribute, right? So they meet several pillars, and even if we use those guides for engagement, we would, continue to see that. But they do a great job, but this Poppy project is very exciting in the way it took off and the pride that it's creating, so.
Your Worship, just to the point of investment, as much as the town provides opportunities for engagement, we also are mindful that the Summerside Youth Club and the Mayflower Seniors Club, those two demographics, provide a lot of community engagement initiatives within their own organizations. So continued investment in those two clubs, organizations is important as well.
Stratford, right? Yep. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for that, Councillor, and thank you for your report, Councillor Chandler. Anything else on this?
I'm not sure if this is the time. Maybe we'll do this before the end, but thank you to Lawrence McCauley. I know Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability. I think someone who's dedicated his life to this end of the province and all of the things that he's done for residents of Stratford and all of PEI. I think it's time, I think we should be very grateful for the service of Lawrence and Francis and the whole family. 11 elections and not losing any. Pretty impressive. And just, you hear the great things about Lawrence in the public, but it's the stuff that you don't hear about that is really, and the things he wouldn't want credit for. That's kind of the biggest impact on a lot of us on PEI. So thank you to them for everything they've done. He's been around, he's been in politics since before the town was the town. And I wish him luck and wish the family luck in retirement, whatever that is. Not sure when the election is, but again, just to want to thank Lawrence and Francis and the family for their service to all of us.
I think that's a really good point. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that Lawrence continues to work for us as well. We're still, looking at getting federal funding for our wellness facility, and I know that he's been very active in working towards trying to secure some funding for us for that.
He likely will once he's retired as well. And I do acknowledge that he's, like I said, that we don't know when the election is happening. Could be this fall, could be any time. But he's been a tireless advocate for PEI and Stratford. I mean, we wouldn't be here without him. So again, thank you for that.
Yeah, and he's been willing to listen. I think we've met with him a number of times, Deputy Mayor and CAO, and I think other members of council have been in on those meetings. And he's always had a listening. He's always been willing to listen and to do whatever he can to support our initiatives. So we really appreciate that. And I also would like to wish him well in his retirement, whenever that is. And hopefully, he's given a lot, and now he deserves to be able to, enjoy himself. Yeah, so thanks for that, Councillor. We'll now move on to inquiries by members of council. Anything around the town that anyone would like to inquire about, or anything we haven't covered that needs to, people would like an answer to?
If I might, if it's okay. So I'd received an email from a constituent Ward 2 located on Partridge Lane with respect to fire hydrants in certain older portions of the town. He was concerned about the lack of essentially firefighting related infrastructure in areas of Ward 2, and he had some familiarity with the topic, being in the insurance business, and wanted to inquire of the town as to what the status is with respect to fire hydrants in the town, if there's a plan in place to address that. And Councillor Jackson was included on that email, as well as Jeannie as Director of Infrastructure, and Jeannie was so good to write an email reply. I'm just wondering, Jeannie, if you could indicate to us here at Council what, if there's a plan in place to address any potential shortfalls in that critical infrastructure in the town.
Sure. I think, as I alluded to in the email, but just for everybody's benefit, we have been in the last couple of years, I think since 2022, carrying budget in our capital projects for adding hydrants in the core area of town. So we have identified a need, sort of a gap in the number and the spacing of hydrants that we have throughout the town, actually. But as a means to kind of pick at that and better the entire town, our focus has been on the denser areas with apartments and multi-unit residential buildings and such. So we have identified the requirements in the core area. We've been working on that. We have another project in the budget year this year to continue that, and probably have 2 more years to complete the core area. But afterwards, we most definitely, we are very aware that there's also that gap in our residential subdivisions. So we will be creating that map to see what that looks like, to fill in those gaps, and then start picking at those areas as well. It is going to take time. We have a limited amount of money, as we all know, to get work done each year. But we will be identifying as best we can the priorities in terms of where are the biggest gaps or where are the denser areas in those residential subdivisions, and start that plan. But I do think that's probably 3 years down the road before we finish the core area and then start moving into residential areas.
And I really do appreciate that. I mean, I think it's important that, if that gap is there, that it's identified and that it's adequately planned for. So if there is a plan in place,
indeed,
and then I think the residents can judge us on our plan, but they can't judge us on the fact that we don't have one. So then that's fair enough.
Very true.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I guess the corollary to that is the plan needs to be communicated to,
Absolutely. Yes, 100%.
People need to know about it. So that's a challenge as well.
Yeah.
Okay, any other inquiries by any member of council? If not, we'll go to other committees. Stratford Seniors Complex, I'll ask Deputy Mayor Gallant to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following is an overview of projects and items being worked on within the Seniors Committee right now at this moment. Review of the spreadsheet based on building assessment report to help guide the maintenance and capital projects that need to be completed over the next 5 to 7 years for staff to use. Met with the Director of Infrastructure and CEO and Coles Associates to review the building assessment report. Met with maintenance person to discuss maintenance on the building. Our assurance company visit the site to do an inspection. This is completed every few years. Received a new agreement forms from CMHC, and we're currently reviewing the information. Received notice from tenant to inform that us they will leave the building due to move into an assistant care facility. Review and replacement reserve funds to figure out which capital project can be completed in the current year, and currently right now there's 30 people on the waiting list. That's my report, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on Deputy Mayor's report?
Just very quickly, Your Worship. the waiting list seems to be growing longer, so obviously there's a great demand. And I think if, we had more facilities within the community, whether the province, through their efforts to increase their inventory, choose Stratford as a site, I think that list could very quickly grow much longer than 30. But there is a need in the community, and hopefully it'll be met.
Yeah, I think we do have, there are some possibilities, I guess, in discussions with the province. They have indicated that in conjunction with the developer that there may be a possibility of that expansion into the future. But nothing for sure. I know we have a meeting tomorrow night with a developer to discuss their plans for development within the, I think as a council, we'll be meeting with them. So is it tomorrow night? Yeah, it's tomorrow night, yeah. So tomorrow night at 5, yeah. So I would encourage you to attend and maybe to ask a question about that at that time.
I would be interested, Councillor or Deputy Mayor Gallant. The waiting list, is the waiting list maintained regularly or like scrubbed regularly? I know there's a lot of movement within those waiting lists. Do you know what I mean? Like someone's name can be on it, and then the time we think we have 30 that are in need, and when we go to fill a vacancy, they're not as current because they've had their needs met outside of the community or elsewhere.
It's updated.
I know it's probably always added to, but
Yes, we review it on a yearly basis to make sure the phone numbers and everything are correct. But you're right, there is people that stay on the list that refuse it a couple of times, and then they just say, just move me to the bottom of the list. So there's, probably, I would say maybe only 20 people, like some of them just have been on the list for years, but anytime I call
Right.
them, they're not interested.
not interested, or
At
they've
this point
made
in
an
time.
arrangement to live with a,
Yeah.
I know just from personal experience,
Yes.
there was more, it wasn't a given that you could go to your wait list and fill vacancies because it wasn't always a current reflection of their housing needs.
Yeah. And also, we only have 3 two-unit apartments, and some of those people that are on the list only want a 2-bedroom, so.
Yeah, that's one of the issues with housing for seniors in general. PEI is the almost forcing folks to split up to get into them. So understand your point about that. And I think if there was more capacity, I think the list would be much larger. I think just knowing there's only one facility here, if there were more, I think there's tons of folks who would. So it's encouraging to know discussions or at least options are being discussed with some folks. Thanks again.
Heritage Subcommittee? Yeah. Should be just Heritage, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions on Deputy Mayor's report?
No, just everybody, we always talk about the facility, like, I know we're looking at trying to help people low income and so on, but Jeremy, our CEO, we have property here, the town owns. I was looking on LinkedIn last night, excess PEIs in Cornwall. And, I don't know how many sites around across the island, but I know we're looking at something like that. But I mean, at the same time, a senior facility with the election coming up, and if Mr. McCauley was always interested in it, and then maybe whoever is our representative, we can approach them at the time. So look at the idea there, because we have land, and it's if you want to, walk. We always talk the talk. Sometimes you got to walk the walk, right? So it's just there's land there, when we can start the conversations there with some group and to facilitate those needs for the future.
Yeah, and just on the access PEI, and I know I've taken way too much time tonight already, but I've kind of lobbied for this while I wasn't on council as well, and the biggest argument there, and if we get one, that's great, but you could throw a stone, hit the one at Riverside Drive, so duplication of efforts is probably, to your point, Deputy Mayor, not maybe the best investment, but some seniors housing would be much more wise for us, I think.
One thing I will say in membership, just in relation to this facility, is by my conversations with the residents. There's a very high degree of satisfaction among residents, so the facilities that we do provide and the capabilities that we do have, staff are doing a very high-level job in relation to maintaining those facilities and providing a high degree of satisfaction among the residents. So I thank staff for their efforts in that.
Yeah, by all means, thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, if not, thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor. We'll now move on to the next item, which is 19, appointments to the committees. And we have a resolution here, a committee member appointment. I'll ask the Director of Planning and Heritage to move that resolution.
Sure. Chair of Planning.
Chair of Planning,
Yeah,
sorry.
I figured that's what you meant. Yep. So it's CW004-2025, committee member appointments. It's moved by myself as Chair of Planning and the Heritage Subcommittee. It reads as follows. Whereas Council has established a number of standing committees and subcommittees in the Council Procedure Bylaw number 47 to advise and assist Council in its deliberations. Whereas the bylaw provides for the appointment of residents and stakeholders by Council to provide public input to Council in its deliberations. Be it resolved that the following resident be appointed for the remainder of a 2-year term ending on November 30th, 2026 as follows. To the Heritage Subcommittee, Alex O'Hara.
Okay, do you have a seconder for that motion? Oh, sorry, I don't know who got there first. Okay, good, all right. Okay, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Any comments or questions, or?
Only comment I'd say is Mr. O'Hara also serves on our planning committee and very valuable member of that committee. So certainly appreciate him volunteering to take on a little bit extra with the town. We'd appreciate his input.
Yeah, and I think he, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was the one member of the public that was out to all 6 or all 5 of the official plan meetings. So that was a big commitment on his part to come out to those meetings. He's taken a real interest in being engaged in the town affairs.
I just wonder what ward he's in. Maybe he's coming for us.
I think he's much happier where he's at.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'll leave that one. Okay. Okay, so any other discussion? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, and I want to thank Alex for putting his name forward for this committee. I think it's important that we get resident input on all our committees. No proclamations. Any other business anyone would like to bring to the table at this point? If not, I'll call for a motion for adjournment. Thank you. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.